Let's have a little talk about cucurbits. A little bit of science, some food, some fun, and even some art. So what are we going to actually discuss today? We're going to discuss the cucurbit family of plants, the Cucurbitaceae, and a little bit of science behind them, the origins of Halloween, the origins of the jack-o'-lantern as a carved pumpkin, using pumpkin as an artistic canvas, and then some information on how you too can be an amazing pumpkin artist. So the Cucurbitaceae family, some fun facts, it's generally a viney herbaceous annual, sometimes a perennial. You see some familiar looking plants over here on the right. There are 115 genera in this family and 960 species, so it's a very broad, diverse family of plants. It forms the second largest fruit and vegetable family. Here's a collage of different members of the Cucurbitaceae family. You see melons, pumpkins, squashes, cucumbers, all different sizes, shapes, and colors. It's the second most important edible family of plants after the Solanaceae. The Solanaceae include potatoes and tomatoes. Because it's an important food crop, it's important both globally and locally as crops. Cucumbers are in this family. Squashes and pumpkins are in this family. And a whole large variety of gourds are also in this family. Also, the melons. The melons are all part of the Cucurbitaceae family as well. Multiple origins of the Cucurbitaceae. So where did they arise? Where did these plants arise? And it turns out that squashes and pumpkins arose in the Americas. So these are native to North and Central and South America. The watermelons arose in Africa. The cucumbers and the other melons arose in Asia and India proper. Most domesticated species are now grown worldwide. So all these dots show major places of growth of these different species for edible purposes and other purposes. Just a little bit about how important this family might be. So looking in Google Scholar since 2020, there have been about just under 17,000 papers published that are dealing with the Cucurbitaceae family. In comparison, the two plants most commonly worked on at the University of Missouri, corn, about the same number, a little bit more papers published on that one particular species, and glycine max, soybean, a fair number more, but the Cucurbitaceae are actually not doing too bad. There are a lot of people working on it, and you might imagine that would be true since it's actually the second most eaten plant species or plant family in the world. Okay, so let's look at the cucurbits in particular. So this is the entire family. These are some of the genera. Then the cucurbits are important, and I would say the most important, because they make up the pumpkins. And that's what we're really going to focus on now is pumpkins, some history about pumpkin usage and how it's connected to Halloween, and then how we can carve some nice, beautiful pumpkin art. So again, pumpkins are of the New World origin. These arose in North and South America. And that's important because it's going to be important to the cultural association with the United States. So let's switch gears a little bit now and talk about the origins of Halloween, because we usually think about pumpkins at Halloween time, the fall time. How did these connections come about? So in pagan, pre-Christian, Gaelic, and Celtic Europe, there was something called Samhain, the festival of Samhain, that marked the transition of seasons and the first day of the Celtic New Year. And this usually occurred October 31st to November 1st. It's halfway between the fall equinox and summer solstice. So this is how we get the date of eventually of Halloween. One of the things that these pagan, pre-Christian Gaelic and Celtic people did was have large bonfires and the offerings could be from food and drink to animal sacrifices, and they were trying to appease the dead who had returned at this one time of the year. They would often don costumes and disguises to imitate or confuse what they thought were visiting spirits. By the 4th century CE, Christianity had spread through Gaelic and Celtic-speaking Europe, and these pagan rites were seen as threatening to Christianity, and therefore they needed to be replaced. In 609, Pope Boniface the Fourth declared a celebration to honor Christian martyrs and saints, and he called this All Saints' Day, or All Hallows Mass in Middle English. In 835, Pope Gregory IV set All Saints' Day to November 1st. So Boniface did not set it to November 1st. That was actually Gregory. And this was done to directly conflict with Samhain. So Samhain was a pagan holiday. The Christians felt threatened that there was a pagan holiday, so you want to replace. And this is a common theme through history, that a religion or a nation has to replace things that preceded it in order to have its dominance. This gave us All Hallows Eve, or All Hallows Even, and Halloween on October 31st. So All Hallows and Samhain mark the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the lean winter times. So this time of year also contributed to some of the things that we think of as associated with Halloween time. In the 13th to 15th centuries, church festivals such as All Hallows Eve and All Hallows were used to raise money for the church. And over the next few hundred years to the mid-19th century, the donning of costumes and performing for food or money on All Hallows Eve became a commonplace occurrence. And it was often referred to as Beggar's Night. So if you've heard of trick-or-treating as Beggar's Night, this is where it has its historical roots. During the 18th and 19th centuries, pranksters in former Celtic lands would imitate wandering spirits. So again, costumes, begging for food or money, these things evolved into what we now consider trick-or-treating. So modern American Halloween traditions such as costumes, trick-or-treating, pranks, teepeeing trees or houses, right? And the carved pumpkin, as we'll see, all have their lineages with these ancient and old world practices. These are actually photographs of my oldest daughter in costume here, all of my three kids at a pumpkin patch when they were much younger, and a graveyard that we always set up in our lawn at our house. So what are the origins of the jack-o'-lantern, the carved pumpkin? And that's really what we want to end up with today, is talking about carved pumpkins. The Celtic pranksters that would often be trying to ward off these evil spirits would often carry lanterns made of root vegetables such as turnips. And they believed that these spirits were coming at Samhain, and they wanted to ward them off, so they would carry these lanterns made out of vegetables. There was also a folklore tale about the will-o'-wisp, and this is again Celtic and Gaelic in origin, of these strange floating orbs of light that are seen in darkened forests and dense swamps. And they were thought to represent wandering spirits that were unable to, or had been cast out of hell. So again, we have a lot of things swirling around here in some of these origins. In the 18th century, Irish folklore and developed a legend about a blacksmith, named Jack, who was too evil to get into heaven, and he was expelled from hell. So he wanders the earth with a lantern made out of hollowed vegetable filled with coal, hence the jack-o'-lantern. So it was really named after this Irish folk tale. The legendary will-o'-wisp and the jack-o'-lantern reports that you see through history likely actually reflect various bioluminescence, chemiluminescence, or extremophile activities in these swampy areas. So there's biological explanation for these occurrences that people were attributing to these legends. In the 18th and 19th century, Irish immigration to the U.S. brought those old world tales and practices, and that influenced New World practices and beliefs. In 1848, Washington Irving's Legend of Sleepy Hollow was published, and we really can't underestimate the power of literature and how that also influenced how we think about Halloween and jack-o'-lanterns. And it seamlessly merged those ancient ideas with old world folklore and legend into a fresh New World and wholly American folktale. It's Though the pumpkin of the headless horseman that he threw at Ichabod Crane was not carved, the modern American pumpkin jack-o'-lantern is an outgrowth of Irving's work. So Irving really had influence on how we see pumpkins and how we use pumpkins. And squashes and pumpkins have been crucial in Native American culture. So we've been talking kind of about Western European settler cultures, but in fact, the natives considered the pumpkin and squash family, the Cucurbitaceae family, as one of the three sisters along with bean and corn. And this was very important in the Native American culture. The white European American folk histories derived from those Puritan harvest festivals, we always think about Thanksgiving, also held up the pumpkin as an important icon of Americanness. So even though there's no evidence that there was pumpkin pie at that first Puritan Thanksgiving that we always think about as one of our founding tales, pumpkins were important as a staple and consistently dependable food source when other food sources weren't around. There was always going to be a pumpkin around. Pumpkin pie did develop mostly in the Northeast, but it spread into the rest of the country. And these things were swirling around at the same time these old world tales were swirling around, and they all kind of combined to give us what we now really affectionately look at, and it's the jack-o'-lantern at Halloween time. So yeah, again, all these aspects, these strands of folklore and uniquely American literature, such as Irving's work, come together, and pumpkins replaced other vegetables as traditional All Hallows Eve or Halloween lanterns in the New World. So while the Old World was still using turnips for lanterns, the United States, we had replaced that with the pumpkin. So now let's really shift gear to where I want to be ultimately, and that's looking at pumpkins as a canvas. So I'm going to call this my reflections on my love affair with the great orange beast. And I don't mean this orange beast, I mean this orange beast. So the orange, big orange pumpkin that we're used to. So this is what my basically weekly shopping looks like in October. I go and get a bunch of pumpkins and I come home and carve them. So what kind of history tie do I have to pumpkins and Halloween? So I was born in 1966 and I grew up in New England. I grew up in upstate New York. So I was raised on a cultural milieu of American Halloween and pumpkin folklore and stories and iconography. It's really baked into the New England culture. I would ask, do I have a nurture versus nature? Is this genetic, my love of pumpkins, or is it really nurture? In 2003, my first foray into intricate pumpkin carving started with the following question about my children. Could I put my kids' faces, and these are the pictures that I wanted to use, could I put my kids' faces on a pumpkin? And I started looking around on the internet and found a site that described generating 3-tone 2D images that you could then put on a pumpkin to render 3D-like images when they were carved. And it really, to me, sounded too good to be true. It was described fairly well, but it wasn't described, in great detail. So I thought, I'm going to try this. So I took the pictures, I rendered 3-tone images from these that I would then use to carve. And I carved the pumpkins, and then I put candles in them. So the pumpkins, when I carved them and did the shaving, and we'll talk about this in a second, these don't really look good. But when I lit them, I was like, wow, this really actually works quite well. And you generate these images that look pretty much like the photographs, which I was pleasantly surprised at. That has led, of course, to creating my kids as what we call the school pictures on pumpkins over the years, and these are just some of them. It's always my oldest to my youngest, and you can see that I've been doing this for a few years and using pictures as they grew up so I can watch them age on pumpkins. Once I started doing my kids, I thought, well, if I can put my kids' faces on a pumpkin, certainly I can put other people or other things or other images on pumpkins. So that began my real obsession, which has resulted in the following. These are 20 years worth of pumpkin carvings that I've done. There's more than 450 carvings here. some of my favorites I'll give you now. These are some of my favorites from last year and the previous. This one is from the previous year. These are all real pumpkins, and they have been carved using that method and then lit. In this case, I don't use candles. I use a incandescent lamp from the top because you need to put a bunch of tea candle lights in it to make it really bright. So it's lit a little bit differently. That's the only specific thing to make the photographs look really good. But this is a collage of individual photographs. Here are some other carvings I've done over the years. I'm a heavy metal fan, so I do a lot of heavy metal themed carvings. I also I love John Carpenter's movie Halloween. So here are some Halloween related carvings that I've done over the year. This is John Carpenter himself. Here are some collages of photographs that I made myself. I thought, well, if I was to take George Romero here on the left and combine him with one of the characters from his classic zombie movies and make a two-sided pattern and then carve that two-sided pattern, how would it look? I did the same thing with Clive Barker and John Carpenter with characters from their movies. I thought it came out pretty well. I've also, and I would point out that these carvings are all on the species Cucurbita pepo, which is the kind of the standard pumpkin that we think about that is, 5 to 10 pounds at most, usually the ones that you can get at Hy-Vee or Lucky's or Walmart. But I've also done Cucurbita maxima, which is these giant pumpkins that weigh, up to 150 pounds. Typically, now they can go up to, several hundred pounds, but they're hard to move around. So this is one that my late wife's sister had grown for me, and I thought, well, let's put the Beatles on this one. So this one it's a lot of space, so there's a lot of canvas there, and you can do a lot of work with it. Here's another Big Jack or Cucurbita maxima that I did for an arboretum over in Kansas City, and they had a theme that year. It was all about classic Halloween related things. So I thought, well, I'll do a Hollywood Halloween with different classic Universal monsters: Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, Bride of Frankenstein. So here's me carving that giant pumpkin. The following year, they had a different theme. I don't remember exactly what the theme was, but I decided that I was going to do one on patriotism, so I ended up with this bald eagle and an American flag in the background. As I'll talk about how to carve these things, you make a template and you actually transfer the template that you make on paper and print out. You transfer that to the pumpkin. I do it by putting carbon paper or tracing paper underneath the template, and then you literally trace your lines on your template, and it transfers to the pumpkin because of the carbon that's in the tracing paper, and then you use that as your template on your pumpkin. Well, when I did this pumpkin, the skins on these Maxima pumpkins are a little slippery and slimy, and the pattern didn't stick. So this is one of the few pumpkins that I've actually done by freehand. So I actually drew this pattern that resulted over here in freehand. What I will tell you is I may have some artistic ability in that regard. You do not need this artistic ability to do these things. If the transfer of the pattern works, you don't have to be an artist. You just have to be patient to make these kinds of carvings. I've also tried using funkins, or the foam pumpkins, or what I'm naming Cucurbita foamus. Little pun there. So here's a one I did a few years ago of Gary Holt. He's a guitarist for Slayer and Exodus, and here's a one I did of my current partner. So these are on foam pumpkins. This is a much different process. What I'll talk about today is how to do carvings like these on real pumpkins, as I previously showed, not on the funkins. That's a whole different approach to doing that, but you can do it. And the nice thing about these is they last forever. So this is a pumpkin that was carved on a foam pumpkin years ago, and I can still light it every year. These previous pumpkins, you light them, they're good for a couple days and they rot. So it's very ephemeral too. The art is here today and gone tomorrow. Okay, so you want to carve a pumpkin. How are you going to go about this? So I have really detailed instructions on a website. The website's URL is down here, and you can go into the how-to section, and it'll tell you exactly what to do, which I'm going to go through fairly quickly here in a few minutes. I also give a number of patterns that I've generated over the years. Of those 450, most of them are here or on my Instagram site, where that's much more up to date. The website itself takes a little bit more time to keep updating. So Instagram's easy to post things. So all of my recent pumpkins are on there. So what do you need to do to make one of these intricate carved pumpkins? Really, all you need is a good quality digital photo that you're going to convert on a computer using Photoshop or GIMP or some processing kind of software where you can manipulate the photo. And you'll need something like Word later to print something, a pumpkin, some carving tools, and some patience, or a lot of patience, and a little bit of imagination and some time. So these do take time. It's not like carving 2 triangles for eyes and a circle for a nose and some teeth into a pumpkin. And I like those too. I really do enjoy those. By the end of my carving season, that's really all I'm capable of doing, because I'm pretty wiped out by the end of the year. So find a picture you like. So because I'm a scientist, I picked Charles Darwin. This is a pretty decent image. It turns out that old black and white images, especially like old Hollywood production shots, are really high quality and they have really good contrast that works quite well. If you're going to use pictures of your own, what you want to make sure is that the lighting is not directly on the face or directly from behind. It has to be more from one of the sides so that you have contrast. And this will be clear in a second. So in this image of Darwin, you see there's a lot of white here. And what we typically do is generate a pattern. The ones you saw of my children earlier were reversed from the patterns I use now. So what we're going to typically do is take all these dark areas and convert those into black areas. We'll convert grayish areas into gray, and then the white areas into white. And where there's white, we're going to remove all of that pumpkin flesh. So because this is mostly white, you would just have a big white blob, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense. So if you had a color image, you're going to first make a grayscale image, right? So you get rid of the colors and you make it grayscale. And then what you're going to use on Photoshop is a function called posterize. And it allows you to do this at multiple different levels. So what it's doing is it's taking all the pixels and their grayness, and it's converting them into bins. So the most black are in the first bin, the gray middle between black and white is put in the second bin, and the whites are put in the third bin. If you had 4, you would have more variation within the gray. If you had 5, you'd have even more variation with gray. It's best to do 3 because that's the easiest, and you'll see why. So if I convert this image directly to a 3-tone posterized image in Photoshop, again, what you see is there's a lot of white here. And if I was to transfer this pattern to the pumpkin, what I would do is trace around all this. I trace around all the gray, trace around all the black. Where it's black, you don't do anything to the pumpkin skin or the meat underneath. You just leave it. Where it's gray, you just remove the pumpkin, the rind, the outside, and you leave the flesh underneath, the meat underneath. Where it's white, you actually remove both the rind and the flesh. So if we were to remove all of this, we've got all these little gray pieces that are hanging out here. We've got gray pieces in the middle of white. They disappear, right? Because you've taken all this white out. This gray is sitting as an island in this white. This is gone. It's going to be removed. You can't keep it because it can't float in free space. These other little pieces are so small that they're not going to stay mechanically well suited. They're going to fall and drip and drown and all those kinds of things. So this is too white. We've got to fix this image a little bit. So we're going to alter the brightness. That's the first thing you can do. So if you alter the brightness, you remove some of the brightness. You can You can reduce that white, but then what happens is you end up with a lot more black with no resolution. So this is just a black bar. It looks like he's wearing sunglasses, and you want to actually see his eyes like you can in this image. So then you would alter the contrast of that image that's had its brightness reduced. Now you start seeing a little bit more, right? Now if we make the contrast a little bit different, that makes it a little bit better. Now what we can do is do a burn and dodge function. And if you've ever done black and white photography, this is what you do to enhance either the brightness or decrease the brightness, as you do these things where you actually wave your hand or a piece of paper over part of the image to dodge, meaning don't get as much light passing through the negative onto the photographic paper, or you burn, which means you put more light in that space. So we're going to do this function on Photoshop, and so we can actually reduce some of the light in these really gray areas and start seeing some of the additional details of Darwin's eyes. We can actually dodge in these areas that were really white to give a little bit more gray, so you don't have these big, huge white spaces, but now you have smaller white spaces where these gray pieces can actually sit and are in a state where they're not going to fall apart, right? So taking this original, we went through a series of processes on Photoshop to actually alter the image. So the only really artistic thing I think about making images is having some aesthetic sense for what is going to make a good image. And part of this is practice, and part of it is just learning how to work with these patterns. And the key thing is you can't have too much white, you can't have too much black, you can't have too much gray. It's got to be a good balance of them. And where there's white, you have to recognize that if you cut out any white, if there's an island of black or gray sitting in here, it's not going to show up in the carved pumpkin because there's nothing connecting it, right? Because you've carved all the way through and you've taken all that flesh away. If you have a gray island in here, it means you have to cut around that gray island to leave it somehow. So we have to make sure that we get a good balance of white and gray, and we have things that are structurally sound once you cut this out. So once you have that image you like, then if it's a black background, I get rid of all the black is just with a paint function in Photoshop, and then cut it down to a small enough size that you can insert the image into a Word document or something like that so that you can print it. Next thing you're going to have to do is gather your tools, right? So the tools that I use aren't really fancy. So this scoop and these saws all come from particular kits. Make sure you have some decent ballpoint pens. That's going to be important for tracing your pattern onto the pumpkin. Make sure you have a good sharp knife. I have a really thin blade knife that came in a pumpkin kit years ago, and I haven't been able to find any more of these, so I can't tell you where it came from. And some kind of scoop. People can use spoons, things like that. These scoops that come in the Pumpkin Master kits that you can get in the stores already in September, these are really handy, and you can really gut a pumpkin fast. So it takes me about literally less than 2 minutes to gut a pumpkin. So when we have carving parties, I usually gut people's pumpkins because I'm pretty quick at it. You'll need some wood carving chisels or knives, and this is the original chisel that I carved those first pictures of my kids with. It's actually a wood chisel. This was not very handy because it's big, and I tried to grip it down here, and you have this big heavy end. It's just not good. You can get these kinds of wood chisels and knives. You can see their sharp blades are here. You can get these in any hobby store. So Michael's, Hobby Lobby, you can get them most any hobby stores. You're also going to want those carving saws to remove big sections. These can come in those Pumpkin Masters kits. So if you get a couple of those Pumpkin Master kits, you've got enough saws to last a while. And these are just little tiny serrated blades that are stuck in these plastic holders, so they're actually pretty handy. Last thing that I use are some different wood and clay tools. I've bought a lot of different kits over the years because you never quite know what you're going to need to make a certain hole or a certain um, shape. So some of these things are just small, so I can actually remove really tiny sections of flesh because you can't really do that with these saws. It's only so small you can saw out something. So I can use these things to make smaller holes and things. And lastly, I would say to invest in a sharpening steel of some kind, or a sharpening stone, so that you can keep these chisels really sharp. It's really handy. Okay, so get out your stencil. You've printed your stencil of your pattern that you've made, and again, I have details, really step-by-step details on the website. Get a piece of carbon paper, and you can get these sometimes in hobby shops. I buy them by the roll because I use a lot of it. And carbon paper is not something that's really common anymore, so you might have to look around for it, but it's really useful. So tape the stencil and a piece of carbon paper underneath it to your already gutted pumpkin. And then you trace over the pattern. So all of the edges of the white, all of the edges of the gray, all the edges of the black. You trace those all onto the pumpkin. Remove the stencil and the carbon paper. Hopefully the pattern transferred. You have to push fairly hard, not so hard that you're going through the paper with the pen. It usually takes pretty well. There are a few pumpkins that their flesh is on the outside, their rind is not real good for transferring the pumpkin or pattern, but sometimes you have issues. Usually you do not. Remove the carbon paper and the stencil, and then trace over that carbon tracing that's on the pumpkin with the pen, because otherwise, once you start carving, you'll smear the pattern of the carbon that's been transferred to the pumpkin. It doesn't stick that well. The ballpoint pen will stick quite well. Again, you may need to use a couple pens to figure out what is going to stick best. So if you draw on the lid of the pumpkin, say, with a pen, let it sit for a little while, and then see if it rubs off easily. If it does, then that's not a good pen. You got to find a different pen. Wipe all the excess carbon off and any of the excess pen with just a damp paper towel. So now you should have a nice pattern on your hollowed out pumpkin. Then you'll use these chisels and knives to score all those tracing lines. So you'll just, like you would do with a pen, you're going to go around with the edge of one of these, usually one of these sharp ones that comes to a point, and use that point to score, right? Just break through the skin a little bit, the rind, all the way around all those patterns. And then, and only then, you begin to carve. So I would score it all first, all of those lines, right? Make them actually cut into the flesh. Don't remove any flesh, don't remove any rind, just cut into it along those lines. Then you start to remove the gray areas. So the areas that were on the pattern that were gray, so keep a separate pattern next to you so you know which things you scored are gray, which things you scored are white, which are black. You remove those gray areas first, meaning use some of these flat blades to just peel off the rind. So the hard part on the outside, you don't have to peel very far into the flesh. Peel those off. This is the reason you score it, so that you can peel off very detailed sections. Then what I would suggest, before you cut out any white pieces, is you light the pumpkin to see if you need to remove more flesh so that you can see gray, so that you can distinguish gray from black. So when you light the pumpkin from the inside, anywhere you've not removed rind, it's going to look black in a dark space. But anywhere you removed a little bit of rind, it will look orange, right? You'll see the bright orange. You won't see black because now the light is coming through because the rind is not there to keep it out. If it doesn't look like it's bright enough, and you don't want it so bright that you can't distinguish that from when you've cut it completely out, you can remove some of the flesh using that scoop from the inside where you're going to be carving, so you can thin the flesh, right? Again, this is something that takes a little practice. The first pumpkin won't look as great as you would hope it would look, but it'll look a lot better than you probably will imagine. But the more you practice with this, the better you get at making these pumpkins look really, really sharp. Then you remove the white areas. So the areas where they're white, that you're going to remove all the flesh, use those saws or these other tools that are just kind of random wood carving and clay tools to remove those white areas. Then you light your pumpkin and you enjoy it. So if you're interested in doing this, again, I would say go check out the website, find out how to do this, try it with something simple, and enjoy your Halloween season. So thanks you all, and happy Samhain, All Hallows Eve, and Halloween.